Okay, great. Hey, everybody. Good to see you all. I feel refreshed. I missed you all on last week traveling for the Labor Day holiday, but I do hope that you had a fantastic Labor Day weekend. I know in the Atlanta area, the weather was absolutely fantastic. And so wherever you are or were, I trust that you had a peaceful, relaxing, productive, Labor Day. We have an international audience. We've got people in the masterclass, as you all know, from around the world. And so last week may not have been Labor Day for you, but we still hope that you had a great, great weekend. Okay. I'm excited about tonight's topic. I'm going to tell you why, because this is um, this is a topic that I want to be very careful about. I'm going to be very careful and responsible about this topic because it you have to execute this particular topic um, very carefully, very circumspectly. You have to really look at your own personal situation, and it cannot be dictated by third parties. And we'll get into that in a moment. As always, please make sure you have created your environment for success. Fellas, maybe some ladies, I know that football season is upon us and the Dallas Cowboys play the Philadelphia Eagles on tonight. I get it, but let's focus. Let's focus for the next few moments on this particular topic because you just never know when something is going to be said that could, listen to me, y'all, that could absolutely change your life by changing your perspective. So make sure you've created your environment for success. All distractions, to the extent possible, have been put away. Please make sure that you have also you have something to write with, that you have a journal or a booklet or something that you can put in place that will help you to remember or maybe even ask questions at the end. As you all know, that I have a time and place for Q&A at the end of every session. And so if you got something on your heart that you want to share or ask, please feel free to do so at the end of our session on today. I want to start today off with the story that is going to help set the tone, for tonight. Okay, it's the story of a gentleman by the name of Hernando Cortez. Hernando Cortez. Hernando Cortez. This incident happened around 1519, so centuries and centuries ago. He was a Spanish conquistador, and he set out to conquer the Aztec Empire. What he did was he charted a course to Mexico. He took a fleet of ships, had a handful of horses. When I say a fleet, had about 11 ships and about 600 men. Now, please understand at that time, the Aztec Empire was absolutely huge. It was deemed to be pretty much undefeatable. The Aztec Empire had hundreds of thousands of warriors and soldiers. And so when Hernando Cortez landed his ships there in Mexico, as the story goes, he was so committed to defeating the Aztec Empire that he ordered his commanders to burn the ships. Burn the ships. Why? Because he did not want retreat to be an option. Failure was not an option. Going back was not an option. And what he knew that was going to do was strengthen their resolve, strengthen their commitment to the objective at hand, which is defeating this once thought to be impenetrable, undefeatable foe, and the rest is history. Now, there are many lessons that we're going to be able to take. So when you hear people say burn the bridge, when you hear people say no retreat, oftentimes they're referring to the story of the conquistador Hernando Cortez. And so on tonight, we're going to talk about the topic of burning the bridge. Burning the bridge, burn the backup plan, how to commit when failure is not an option. Oh, I can't wait to dive into this. How to commit when failure is not an option. How many of you have been put into a situation before, or you feel that you have been placed in a situation where your back is absolutely positively against the wall? right? I can raise my hand. On many occasions in my life, professionally as an entrepreneur, I have burned the bridge where I didn't look back. There was no alternative for me to say, well, if this doesn't work out, I can always do, nah, not me. In many instances in my life, the only path that I saw for myself was a path forward. And oftentimes, and we're going to see this through our discussion on today, that many of us keep escape routes open. A job we won't quit, a relationship we won't define, a business run half-heartedly because we're scared to fail. I can talk on all of these, right? You know, in the case of relationships, there are people who don't want to define their relationship. Oh, you know, Spencer, I don't want to label this thing. What are we doing there? What are we doing? If we don't want to label it, right? You know, oftentimes that means that people are still wanting to keep their options open. Look, I'm grown, right? Just tell me, I'm off on a whole different day. Tell me what you want. What are we doing, right? Tell me what we're doing. Like, you know, I'm running out of time. I ain't trying to play no games. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation another day. It's not the topic at hand. But a job we won't quit, right? That's why I gave the disclaimer early on that this particular topic we need to be careful about and move circumspectly with, because I've seen people not have a plan in place. They burned the boat, they burned the bridge, and they did so prematurely to their peril, okay? To their demise, their professional demise, their financial demise. So we got to be very careful with that decision. There's a quote by W.H. Murray that says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Anything that we commit ourselves to do, we should do so boldly, with confidence, with assuredness, right? Versus going in timidly, right? Not going in there feeling as if, man, you're not fully invested in this decision. You're not fully committed to this decision. When you're not fully committed, you're going to give half-hearted effort, which is going to lead to half-hearted results, which ultimately leads to an incomplete or at least to a complete failure. Let's look at the psychology of safety nets. Why do you even keep a backup plan, right? That's a psychological thing. One of the reasons is humans crave certainty. We want to know all the answers to the test. We want to know for certain that this deal is going to go through. We want to know for certain that I've got this other job lined up before I start off on this next venture. I want to have this job in hand before I go pursuing and before I quit my other job. And and that's just human nature, I suppose. Maybe I'm wired differently because I feel, and you've heard me say this many times, at what point does your faith become real? At what point does the tongue in your mouth and the tongue in your shoe operate in the same direction? What does that mean? You can't say one thing and be doing another. So you can't tell me you're a believer, but the actions of your life are absolutely inconsistent with anyone who claims to have faith. So we have a need oftentimes for an escape route, a path out in case it doesn't work. The Harvard Business Review came up with this statistic and notes that 85% of people overvalue security over growth opportunity. What does that mean? That means that over 85%, almost 90% of people would rather stay in a position of comfort versus pursuing a dream, a goal, or an objective that may lead or yield even greater success or results. Wow. Are you an 85%er or are you a 15%er? I tell folks all the time, I've said this before. Comfortable people oftentimes are broke people. Comfortable people are oftentimes unhappy people. Comfortable people are oftentimes unchallenged people. I don't say that to discourage anyone. I don't say that to make anyone feel bad. It's just the reality of being comfortable. Understand that I know that I must make myself uncomfortable for a little while to become comfortable for a lifetime. The challenge is a lot of people never want to get to the place of being uncomfortable. I'll give you an example of like today. I really didn't feel like working out. I did not have a good workout week last week. I only got into the gym once last week. And I understand the necessity, for me, I understand the necessity that I need to work out. Why? Because I'm planning for my future. I want my future self to be in the best shape possible. I want my future self to be as healthy as possible. I want my future self to be able to go where I want to go, when I want to go, and do what I want to do. But I have to be healthy in order to do that. So today, with all the work that I have going on and all of the things I have that I'm juggling, I got to go work out. And I'm grateful and I feel good that I did, even though my mind, like R. Kelly said, my mind was telling me no, but my body said yes. That's a different context. But anyway, that's what he said. And my point is, I got there and I worked out. And I'm glad I pushed through because I know and I understand what it means to be uncomfortable for a little while because I want the results for myself. I want to be a good example to you all in my masterclass. I want to be a good example to my children. And so I had to push myself even though it was uncomfortable. So I find myself, I think I'm in that 15%. I don't mind making myself uncomfortable. And I think in the area of personal self-development, which we are in, you have to first acknowledge and understand and appreciate that, yes, I need to become uncomfortable. I need to become comfortable being uncomfortable. Another psychological reason as to why we like to have safety nets is because we have a fear of regret and failure that keeps us from fully committing. So we'd rather stay comfortable than to overcome our fear of failure. Again, we've talked about that. In this masterclass, you all know failure is not a word that we use. Failure, F-A-I-L, first attempt in learning, is just a learning and a growth opportunity for us. We don't fail, we learn, we grow. So you set the goal, you fall short, no problem. You didn't fail, you just know how to choose, you know how to go after your next goal more effectively the next time, but you didn't fail. The only time you fail, and again, you've heard me say this before, the only time you fail is if you made an effort and you made an attempt and you did not learn or you chose not to take anything away from it. Plan, do, review. You plan, you do, you execute, and then you review. What went right? What went wrong? I'll do it better next time. But we do not fail, right? We don't fail. Let me give you a modern example where a corporate employee launches a side hustle business, but never really goes all in. Their mindset is if it doesn't work, I always go back to this job. See, that safety net prevents that person from giving 100% effort, right? You just can't use that word. You just can't have but stuff. You got to go get it, y'all. Even if it's for a season, ask yourself this question. Have I ever fully gone 100% into anything? Only you can be honest with yourself about the answer to that question. Have you ever imagined what would have happened had I fully committed? Had I fully gone all in? Had I burned the boats or burned the bridge? What would have happened? What would my life have looked like? And I can tell you this, the people who have become ultra successful, they had to burn the boat on something. They may not see, that's why you have to be careful about social media. Some people would have you believe by their social media posts and the personas that they portray on social media that this just happened overnight. I just did boom, 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 bada, bada, bam, and look at my life now. I'm at the Ferrari dealership. I'm driving a Rolls Royce, living in a dream house. No, sir. No, sir. There were some dark nights. That's something I learned as I've studied the habits and tendencies of self-made millionaires and entrepreneurs. And I'm giving you this, hopefully this will bless your life for those of you who need hope. As I've studied, the stories of wealthy people that I know, this is not coming from books that I have read or I am reading, almost all of them, including myself, had the back against the wall moment where there were no options. There were no escape routes. There was no plan B. There was no fail safe. There was no safety net. Either this worked or I'm out of the game. And that, I just over and over and over again, Mr. Iverson, I had to file for bankruptcy. Mr. Iverson, I lost everything I had. Mr. Iverson, my car was repossessed. Mr. Iverson, my house was foreclosed on. Now, you look at them today, they got houses around the world. You look at them today, they got a car for every day of the week. You look at them today, and they've got designer clothes and designer brands that you can't even pronounce. You look at them today, they vacation in parts of the world you didn't even know existed. But oh, if you were to hear their story, if you were to hear their story, there was a time when they didn't know where the next meal was coming from. There was a time when they didn't know how they were going to pay your rent. There was a time when people was knocking on the door to come get stuff. I'm telling you what I know. So don't get discouraged. Get busy. Get to work. And that's what happens when I invented, it's one of the items that I had patented. It's called Sonoball. It was a basketball goal for the visually impaired. And what I learned, and it happened while I was a student at Georgia Tech. What I learned is that when you lose one of your five senses, your other remaining healthy senses become more heightened to accommodate for the loss of that one sense. And so in this case, after class, I had a prototype built. And after class, Dr. Alvine's marketing class, Dr. Alvine taught at Georgia Tech, taught at Harvard, had a great book on marketing. And after that class, I would go, and people who knew me at the time may not remember, but I was the kid, who came to class with a garment bag because I had a suit in it. And then after the class, I would go change into my suit, walk across the street. It was a little bit of a walk, but walk basically across the street to the Atlanta Center for the Blind that was in close proximity to Georgia Tech. And I would do demonstrations, right? And I would watch children center the sound that was going on at a constant right in the middle of the backboard. And it was a piercing sound so they could localize it in their mind, visualize it in their mind. I had an oversized basket and they would shoot in the direction of that sound and it would catch the basketball or the ball and it would set off another time, letting them know that they had made the basket. It's called Sonoball. What's my point? My point is that when they lost one aspect of their faculties, of their senses, everything else around them, all their other senses became more sensitive and more heightened. When you remove your safety net, when you remove anything that can serve as a distraction, and it no longer serves as a distraction, whether that's a job or you oftentimes hear businessmen talk about they had to jettison off relationships because they were so focused on a goal. And once they did that, guess what happened? Their focus sharpened to that from a flashlight to a laser beam. A flashlight casts a very diffused beam. It's broad, it's wide in its array. A laser beam is super focused. And so when they burned the boats, when they burned the bridge, they realized the only path was forward. You talking about all of a sudden now you working 25 out of 24 hours a day. I know it's not possible, but you understand what I'm talking about. The things that they ordinarily maybe not would have done, they're doing right now because there is no path but forward. Guess what happens when you burn the boat? Now, another example is Sara Blakely. You all know that name. She was the founder of Spanx. A lot of people don't know that she didn't have a backup plan. When she created that brand of garment, she had no backup plan. She invested her last $5,000 from her savings. And then she sold fax machines. Remember Will Smith's character, right? In the movie where he portrayed the gentleman who became famous for stocks and whatnot. And so Will Smith, the same thing. They sold some kind of copier or some kind of bone density machine, a bone density scanner in Will Smith's case. But she sold fax machines until Spanx broke through. That was a high degree of belief in herself, in her abilities, and in her idea. Let me give you some data on commitment versus half stepping. Let me give you some data on commitment versus half stepping. You know, I love to give you all facts. This is not an emotional conversation. This is not a theoretical conversation. This is a conversation steeped in data and statistics as well. According to a Gallup poll, only 20% of employees are fully engaged at work. That follows the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. The rest are present but uncommitted. They're just uncommitted. Startups with founders who are full-time are 3.5 times more likely to succeed than those who just operate their businesses on a part-time basis. So if you really understand anything about the Chick-fil-A model, the ownership model, then that gives credence to that statistic. You see, a lot of people don't realize, but to be an owner operator of a Chick-fil-A franchise, it's not millions of dollars. I think it's like $5,000, $10,000. However, you partner with Chick-fil-A and you got to work as an employee in that Chick-fil-A. You know why? They know this data. They know that the people who are owners of that franchise, they are going to be significant. Their chances of success are significantly higher because they're working in it versus sitting at home like, hey man, how we do today? How many chicken sandwiches we sold? Y'all getting that sauce all right? You know, no, they understand that the best way to increase the likelihood of that franchise being successful is that person working in the franchise. Marriage studies show couples who enter with the mentality of, we can always leave, have doubled the divorce rate compared to couples who commit with no exit vows, right? That was coming from the Journal of Marriage and Family in 2018. Now, this one is kind of touchy-feely only because I used to represent pro athletes and I had athletes who got married and they had prenups. And so people say, that kind of seems hypocritical. Well, they had a lot of assets to protect and I don't know if they knew or felt that this person was the one. Either way, we had to talk about a prenup because, 50% of 24, 30, $40 million is a lot of money and you may not see this again in your lifetime. So anyway, another conversation, another day. However, the premise is the same. Either you're in a relationship or you're not. If you're going in talking about what happens if we break up, then are you really going in fully committed, right? Anyway, another conversation, another day. Let's look at some stories of individuals that maybe we've heard of, because I want you all to understand that burning the boats, not having looking real forward and really committing yourself to your plan A is not something that is unique to you or unique to me. There have been other celebrities and entrepreneurs and billionaires who had the same mindset. And here's a part of their story. Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey slept in his car for 3 years. Again, guys, y'all can Google this. He slept in his car for 3 years. Why? He was pursuing comedy and he knew he had a strong level of belief in himself and his comedic skills that this was his calling. Do you think that he ever had any moments of doubt as he's sleeping in his car? Do you think he had any moments of indecision as he was contemplating, wow, is this for me? Is this God's purpose for me? He said, if you got a plan B, you'll never get to your plan A. And that's a quote from Steve Harvey. Let's look at Oprah Winfrey. She was fired from her first TV job and she didn't pivot back to radio or quit. She knew that either I'm doing TV or I'm doing nothing. And even though she was fired, she kept persisting and she doubled down and ultimately became who? A media icon. You don't even say Winfrey anymore. You just say Oprah and everybody in the world knows who you're talking about. A lot of people don't know this about Elon Musk. Yes, he made billions as one of the founders of PayPal. But he took all of that money and started Tesla and SpaceX. And he admitted he thought both of those might fail, but his commitment to them was unwavering because he took all of that PayPal money and started 2 other companies that has made him now one of the wealthiest men in the world. You all know I like to use spiritual examples. Let's look at Peter. There's a storm raging, waves crashing in a boat, and they look off in the distance and they see what appears to be a ghost walking in the midst of this storm. And I guess they were close enough to where Peter was like, there's, there's a man standing on the water. Again, the storm was so bad. And again, we're recounting this story in the calmness of your home, or you're listening to this in the calmness, in the peace of in the tranquility of your car. No, if any of you, say I'm a deep sea fisherman, I fish literally all over the world, and I've been caught in some storms. I was on a terrible cruise ship, had a terrible cruise experience one February, years and years ago. Somebody should have told me not to cruise during hurricane season, but the ship we were on looked like a toy boat in a bathtub. I mean, it was just tossed. I done been in some storms, like literally some storms on the sea. And then you're not talking like this. Jesus, Jesus, is that you? Jesus, Jesus, is that you? No, you, I mean, you yelling. And so Peter recognized Jesus on the water, and he's yelling out to him. And then Jesus beckons him to come. And you all know the story. As long as Peter was focused on Jesus, he stayed firm on that water. But the moment he had doubt, he began to sink. Phenomenal metaphor for life. As long as you stay focused on your goals, amazing things can happen. But when that doubt creeps in, when that indecision, when that lack of commitment creeps in, you begin to sink. Your goals begin to sink. Your energy begins to deplete itself. Stay focused. Stay committed. Mr. Iverson, I'm getting it. I get the foundation. How do I burn my backup plan? Okay, well, let's talk about that. How do I burn the backup plan? Well, first, sit down and define what your non-negotiables are. Sit down and define what are your non-negotiables. Ask yourself this question: what's the thing I'd regret the most if I did not fully commit? Is it the success that this could come? Is it the time freedom that might come? Is it the financial freedom? Sometimes it's even bigger than that. It's different than that. Maybe you want to set a good example to your kids. That was a big one to me. I wanted my kids to see their dad as their hero. I needed my kids to see their dad as a success. I needed my kids to see that because of what dad does and the commitment that dad has made, that I am an ever-present figure in your life. That was big to me. Above the money, above the accolades and the stages and the private jets and all that stuff that came with what I did at that time, I wanted my kids to see their dad as their hero and as their provider. It's bigger than money. So, what are your non-negotiables? Write down your plan A. Write it down. What is the plan A? Here's the step 2. So step 1, define your non-negotiable vision. Number 2, step 2, remove the safety net. Cut distractions. Resign from roles that waste your time. Oh God. Yeah. I don't like, and you know what, really, I said that wrong. You all understand, in the masterclass, we understand you don't waste time, right? Let's be very specific with the words and the phrases that we use. We don't waste time. We lose time, right? So you haven't wasted my time. You cause me to lose time. You waste food. What's the difference? I can always get more food. You didn't waste my time, because if you wasted it, it gives the connotation that I can get more of it, right? You waste food. You waste energy. I can get more energy. You cause me to lose time. I can never get that time back. That's why I am very circumspect about the calls that I take, the meetings that I accept. I need some context. Why are we meeting? What is this call about? Because I cannot afford for you to cause me to lose time. I get very upset with people who cause me to lose time because I can't get it back. I can't get it back. And in my afterlife, when I look back at my life and how I spent my time, and I don't want to have a whole lot of moments where I felt, man, I so regret dealing with that person because they caused me to lose a whole lot of time. What are you doing in your life right now? Be honest. What are you doing right now in your life that's causing you to lose time? I'm going to tell you one that's just crushing our society. It's this thing right here. Oh, you talking about something that's causing people to lose time? It's this in that one-eyed monster called a television. I cut the cords probably about 2, maybe 3 years ago, where I used to think I couldn't live without cable. Like, when really, as I looked at it, the only thing I really missed was ESPN Sports Center, because with my day the way that it is, in the background of me cooking, preparing breakfast or whatever, I would like to have Sports Center on, find out, see some of the highlights of the day, or hear about upcoming events that are sports related, and then I would turn the television off after breakfast because in the background, and I'd go to work. That was how I started my day. But did I really even need that? Did I need to pay $99 a month, $129 a month, or whatever it was, because of the one channel that I really wanted to watch? I don't watch the news. Too much negativity on that. So I cut the cable and had no. Now all I have are streaming services, so I can watch movies when on demand. You all know my story. Me being able to watch or stream a show or a movie. I'm a movie buff. That's a privilege to me. Only after I've accomplished all of the things on this particular day on my to-do list. What I'm not doing throughout the day is I'm gonna watch the 10th episode of this show. It's so good. Oh, this is so good. What's gonna happen next? Yeah, you're about to get evicted. That's what's about to happen next, right? So ask yourself the question, what are you doing that is causing so many distractions? And sometimes it is a relationship, right? Is this relationship moving me forward? Is this relationship pushing me towards a goal? I can tell you, I tell you, I'm single, I'll tell you. What am I looking for? That's a great question. And this is going to really sound like a cliche answer. And God knows I don't mean for it, because I can't stand cliche answers. But it is my truth. It is my truth. I am looking for someone who can help me go to heaven. That's a deep answer. It's a deep answer. What does that mean? Someone who holds me accountable for continuing to work hard to be a good person, right? Someone who believes in you, someone who's the wind beneath your wings, someone who, when you wake up in the morning, they're motivating, they're encouraging, baby, you got this. Someone who you always want to be the best version of yourself for. Because ultimately, I don't want to go through all this hell on earth to then spend eternity in hell, right? That makes no sense to me. So that's what my partner will help me do, right? So again, that's in the context of relationships. But if you're not helping me do that, then guess what you are to me? You are a distraction. I don't need no distractions. I'm locked in. I'm locked in this third quarter of my life. I'm locked in like never before. So number one, define your non-negotiable vision. Number two, remove the safety net. I'll give you one more example. Number two, J.K. Rowling. She's the writer. She's the author of the famous Harry Potter series. Many of you all don't know that she was rejected by publisher after publisher after publisher, but she had a high level of belief in herself and her gift and her skill. And while she was writing these books and creating these narratives and these characters and doing the character development and all of that stuff, she was on the European version of food stamps, but she believed in herself. Now, she's one of the wealthiest women in the world because of the success of the Harry Potter series. Number three, raise the stakes. What does that mean? Guys, don't be a closet goal seeker, right? Some people, you keep the goal to yourself. You need to publicly announce to your circle what you're working on and what you're building. That's an accountability thing. I tell you all the things that I'm working on. Why? Because I want you to hold me accountable to the things that I'm working on in my life. I want our masterclass to be one of the biggest and most recognized masterclasses in America, anywhere in the world. I want to be held accountable to that goal, to that vision. There are other goals and aspirations that I have, and I've shared those with the appropriate people, not to brag, because remember, you got to be careful who you share your goals with. Some people are not cheering for your parade. They're hoping for your demise and can't wait to secretly laugh. Again, some people are watching the movie of your life. They're not hoping for it to be a happy ending. They're hoping for it to be a horror movie. They'll smile in your face, but secretly, they are hoping for your demise. Be careful who you share your goals with. Don't put that negative energy on your goal. I do not share my goals with everybody. Number one, most people can't handle my goals. They'll think I'm crazy, or they think I'm bragging, or I think I'm cocky. The real friends I have in my life, when I share a goal with them, the first thing they want to find out is what can I do to help my friend reach that goal? What source of encouragement can I serve? There's not a there's not a bone of hate in their body for the, let me see, 3 people I really consider a friend in my life. I can share that with them. And I know that that goal is safe, right? So raise the stakes. Research shows accountability increases goal achievement by 65%. That comes from the American Society of Training and Development. So if you want to really increase exponentially the likelihood of you reaching a goal, whatever that goal is, it might be a weight goal, it might be a workout goal, it might be a business goal, a personal, whatever it is, you can increase the likelihood of you achieving that significantly by sharing it with the appropriate person. And then number 4, step 4, replace fear with systems. Commitment doesn't mean recklessness. Build a framework. What does that mean? Put yourself together a budget. When people are talking to me, Mr. Iverson, and I want to encourage you all right here, I want to congratulate, let me see, one of our newer members, Sandy. She's in Orlando at a conference right now. I want to congratulate Elisa McKelvey. She had me do a session with her real estate team not too long ago. My point in sharing these stories of these masterclass members with you, guys, congratulations to Royce Bradley, longtime member of the masterclass, one of the original members of the masterclass. Guys, if you need to talk to me again, that is one of the value-added benefits of being a part of the masterclass. Book a 30-minute session. It's not going to cost you my $3,000 to $4,000 per hour fee for consulting. It costs you nothing. I would love to talk to you about your goal, your vision, the things that you're working on in your businesses, so it can help you get closer and closer to your goals and dreams. Use me as a resource. But anyway, when you share your goals with someone, you're significantly more likely to achieve them. But you want to replace, number 4, you want to replace fear with systems. Commitment doesn't mean reckless. And here's what I mean by that. Don't go off half-cocked and I listened to Mr. Iverson's masterclass. And sir, today I'm giving you my 2-day notice. Today you would notice I'm not coming in. Mr. Iverson told me to burn the bridge. And so, sir, I am oh, hey, don't y'all put that on me. No, ma'am, no, sir. Right? No, you might not be ready for that. Look at your budget. Look at what it is you're going into. Do you have a framework? Get some advice. You'll know when it's time. I typically encourage people, if you're talking about a job situation, make sure you have at least 6 to 10 months of cash reserves in the event that the worst case scenario happens where you're not making any income from this new venture or whatever it is. But don't just take this masterclass recording and show this to your boss. Yes, I'm quitting today, Mr. Yes, he's my mentor, my coach, and he said to look you in the eye and give you my 2-week notice. Your income to me is just 2 weeks, and you will notice my unavailability. No, don't you do that. No, let's not do that. Let's be more responsible than that, right? Measure your progress, guys. Number 5, measure your progress, right? You must inspect what you expect, right? What are the metrics that you have defined for success? Is it financial? Is it numerical? I want to have X number of clients by this date, and then start having these benchmarks. Guys, you got to sit down and spend time formulating your plan. If you want to run your plan by me, I am more than happy to do that with you, but have a fail forward mentality. Guys, don't become discouraged at the first signs of your business not taking off. Some people just quit too soon. They just quit too soon, right? You don't get this client or this person says no. Do you understand that the average number of exposures in a sales situation, is 5 before someone commits to either taking advantage of your offer or not, right? Sometimes when you tell somebody for the first time, I experienced this in a masterclass. Some people, they see it. Oh, I like that. Okay, that was great information. All right, you ready to? No, I just want to, So I drip on them. I send them another flyer. Hey, this is this week's topic. I just never know when this week is going to be the week when they're like, wow, I need that lesson. I need that sounding board. I need that advice. I need coaching. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how little people recognize the need for having a good coach in your life. I've invested tens of thousands of dollars in my life in coaching and mentorship for Spencer Iverson. That's how I know it works. You all know my story of how God always placed mentors and coaches in my life that have allowed me to get to the next level, whatever that is, personally or professionally in my life. That's why I'm such a strong advocate. If it's not me, God knows, find somebody, right? It's really kind of biblical. It's really kind of biblical, right? The Bible encourages us to lean not on our own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct thy path. Spencer Iverson, when you were trying to do things on your own, when you were trying to figure out stuff by yourself, most times it did not work. It wasn't until I got someone who had been where I was trying to go, who had done what I was trying to do, who had success where I had never had success. It wasn't until that happened and I divested myself of my ego, hello somebody, so I could sit at the feet of someone who was more successful and accomplished than I was. You don't ever want to be the smartest guy or girl in the room. I love being surrounded by more talented and influential people than myself. I learn from them. I celebrate their success. There are a handful of people in my life who I need to keep close to me because they have certain traits, qualities, and characteristics I just don't have. And I want them. And I may never get to the level that they are, but it sure is good for me to have them close so I can always have something to aspire towards. But if you feel that you are the end all be all in your circle, you need a different circle. You need a different circle, right? Now, the dangers of backup plans is that, and this comes from a University of Wisconsin study, it found that participants who created backup plans showed less effort and worse performance on tasks, right? So what that means is, all right, here's my goal, I'm gonna start this business. But if this don't work out, I'm gonna do this. And if that don't work out, I'm gonna do, so you've got divided interests. So your plan A is really never getting the 100% that it needs. It's been divided amongst and between these other three things that you're trying to work out, right? So that's one of the dangers of having now again, be very careful that you have the right takeaway from this session. I'm not saying live your life recklessly. We're just encouraging you to put a backup plan in its appropriate place. So ask yourself these questions as we reflect and close. What's your ship that needs to be burned, Spencer, Mr. Iverson? What's the ship that you need to be burned? Is it a limiting belief? Do you have a high level of low self-esteem? Do you have a distraction in your life, a relationship, a side hustle that's not really working? Are you in a toxic relationship? Oof, Jesus help me. Do you have a fallback plan that just keeps you comfortable? You're just comfortable enough. See, write those things down and reflect on them. If you want to talk with them with me, that's fine, right? But go through the exercise. If you have these limiting beliefs and you have, you should define for yourself, what is the ship that you need to burn? If you want to take the island, burn the boats. What's your island on tonight? What's the island that you need to take? We're not getting any younger, guys. Right? Next week, it seems like it's going to be 2026. Week after next, we're going to be celebrating New Year's Eve. That's how fast the year is going. Like, yo, slow down. Wait, it was just April. Now it's football season. Geez, stop. Like, slow down. You know why? You know how and when time seems like it's moving fast? When you don't have nothing going on. But time really slows down when you're in a situation and position in your life where you feel like you're fulfilling purpose and you're able to do what you want to do and you're able to spend time with the people you want to spend time with. Time literally feels like it slows down because you're maximizing every second of every day. That's my aspiration. I'm sharing that with you all. I feel I'm getting closer and closer every day to that reality where Financially, I can call it quits, and I can begin to do everything I want to do in my life with who I want to do it with for who I want to do it with for, right? That's my goal. That's my objective. And I am laser focused on that goal. And anything that is in the way of accomplishing that is a distraction, and it has to be jettisoned from my life for the moment. I might go back and pick some of those things up, some of those relationships up. But for right now, I got to stay locked and loaded because I'm in in this season. I'm closing with this. What's the season, Mr. Iverson? I'm in this season where God has blessed me with relative health. He's blessed me with a sound mind. He's blessed me to be at peace with where my children are in their lives. My son is just having a fantastic career as an entrepreneur in California. My daughter started law school 3 weeks ago and is just absolutely in educational nirvana. She has found her calling. She absolutely loves it. So I'm at a place where I am really at peace. I've got great energy, and I'm grateful for that. I went to my high school reunion several years ago, and there were people I didn't even recognize. They were like, "Hey, Spencer, oh, you ain't even changed." I'm like, "You sure have." I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And I had to try to play it off like, "Hey, girl, what up, man?" I didn't know who they were. And anyway, it was, but stress had just aged people. Depression and dismay had just aged people. Like bad habits, heavy drinking and not taking had just aged people prematurely. They done lived some hard lives. And so ask yourself tonight, what bridge are you willing to burn for you to reach your goal? You all know how strongly I feel about living your life, my life of no regrets. So don't keep putting off for tomorrow what you can do today. Become very intentional about how you're living your life. And trust me, you won't regret it. All right. Guys, hope you enjoyed our session on tonight. As much as I enjoyed this is also for me. Again, I'm in a season where I've burned some bridges. I don't mean that in a bad way. I've burned some distractions. I've burned some boats, and I'm not looking back. I am all in on what I'm working on right now. And so, and the masterclass is a big part of that. What questions or comments? Thank you, Royce. What questions or comments might anybody have on tonight? Again, each of you have an opportunity to have the ability to unmute yourself. I'll take some comments with the time that we have. Oh my goodness, I see Dr. Deidre Frazier. Oh my gosh, guys, y'all have got to hear from Dr. Frazier. Dr. Frazier, I hope you'll come on and say a few words. She is our resident psychiatrist, and mental health and wellness specialist. I think so highly of her and her practice and what she brings to the marketplace. And so it's good to see you on tonight, Dr. Frazier. I see Tammy Store. I see Sean up in Canada. I see Vicky, Latrice. I see the Toolies down in Valdosta. I saw there's Faye. I knew my homegirl's on here. So again, thank you all. Any questions or comments for anyone on tonight? You should be, if you like, you can unmute your mic. Anybody have any questions or comments before we close? Okay. All right, guys. Well, listen, I look forward to seeing you all on next Thursday. God willing. See you next Thursday? Yes. God willing, we'll see you all next Thursday with another session. Hey, doctor, give us about 48 hours. Our team will have this recording in the vault section of your classroom so that you can revisit this. And guys, I encourage you all, if you miss a session or if you feel like this is a topic that was for you, it's nothing more powerful than going and re-listening to something. I do it all the time. And even in certain books, I've got it right here. The Richest Man in Babylon. I'm reading that book for the third time. The principles I just want to consistently reinforce into my mind, so that I put them into practice as a good steward of the money that God blesses to come into my life, right? So, guys, I appreciate you all. Look forward to seeing you all next time on our next session of the Worthy of Millions Masterclass. God bless, guys. Take care.